This is a new flower that's bloomed today. This is called an echinacea. She's rather beautiful. But I'm going to tell you a story today about how by doing this and planting seeds to make some beautiful flowers, we can help the bees survive and make more bees. So I'm going to nip inside and tell you today's story. Yes, good morning everybody and happy Tuesday to you. And the story we are going to read together, today is this one. It's a brand new book to me and it's very beautiful. It's all about this little boy, Omar, and this little girl, Maisie, and it's called Omar, the Bees and Me. Here's the first page. Lots of beautiful bumblebees and rainbows and flowers for you to look at. Bees feed from flowers. They love the sugary liquid called nectar. We can make bee corridors by planting flowers for bees and other insects to feed on. There would be no fruit or seeds for us to eat without bees. We've learned that, haven't we, so far? It all started when Omar brought a small slice of his mum's special honey cake for show and tell. Omar was new in our class. So here's all the children. Look at all the different things that they've brought for show and tell. Looks like, let me have a look. We've got flowers and maps and stones, all sorts of different things there. And Omar, here he is, has brought a small slice of his mum's special honey cake. My grandpa used to keep bees, he said quietly. He had apricot trees and jasmine bushes in his sunny garden a long, long way away. So I don't know where Omar has come from, but it looks like perhaps another country to join this school. It gave Mr. Ellery Jones, who's the teacher, a fun idea. He always had lots of fun ideas. We made apricot blossom out of pink tissue and all scrunched up, and we cut white paper stars for jasmine flowers. It was the first time I saw Omar smile. So there they are, cutting up their pink tissue paper and making something that would remind Omar of his home. Then we stuck them up and down the corridor outside our classroom. It's a bee corridor now, laughed Mr. Ellery Jones. We pretended to be like little bees, buzzing from flower to flower. I smiled at Omar. My granddad keeps bees too, I whispered. Mr. Ellery Jones told us about how important bees are and that we should make our world more bee-friendly by growing flowers for them to feed on. But where are the bees? Asked Kurt. And the flowers, said Nish. Sometimes it's only the queen bee that stays alive over winter, said Mr. Ellery Jones, and some bees hibernate, but there will be bees again in the spring when it's warm enough for the flowers to come out. So there they are outside. There's Mr. Ellery Jones and all the children talking about bees outside in the playground. At playtime, I sat by the bins in the corner of the playground, watching the lorries on the road and the noisy building site. Everything was grey. It gave me, my name's Maisie by the way, an idea. We should make a real bee corridor, I said, all the way from our school to the park next to my granddad's garden. He's got a beehive. Mr. Ellery Jones agreed it was a great idea. The next day, we chose some wildflower seeds, the kinds that bees love. Sylvie helped Mr. Ellery Jones to fill out the order. There they are, making their order. And then they're going to do something very special indeed. So they've bought lots of packets, just like my seeds that I've sown, of beautiful flowers that the bees would love. Now, what do you think they could do with them to help to create a bee corridor all the way from school to Maisie's granddad's house, so the bees have somewhere to visit between the school and Maisie's grandpa's. We shook them into envelopes and wrote out the instructions. Please plant these seeds in a pot and put them on your windows. Water them when the soil is getting dry. Thank you, from Class 1. There's all the envelopes, what a lot of them there are, that they've put some seeds into. The next day, we delivered the envelopes to everyone in town, from our school all the way to the park. We did a lot of walking, but some grown-ups came to help out, and Mr. Ellery Jones's husband brought snacks. Mr. Ellery Jones explained that it would take some time for the flowers to grow, at least until next year. And there were all the children going on their walk, delivering their envelopes of flower seeds all the way down to the park. It seemed like such a long time to wait. Every day we wondered how our seeds were doing. Mr. Ellery Jones kept us busy with stuff. Omar and me got the best parts in the Christmas show. We were both bees. Looks like Omar is settling in well now. Then in the spring, the magic started. Every day when me and Omar walked home together, we saw more and more green spikes in tubs on the windows. Soon the spikes sprouted some leaves. You see them there on everybody's windowsills. Things didn't look so grey. How lovely it is to see things growing. Then it was summer, and suddenly there were wild flowers. There were poppies and cornflowers and foxgloves all the way from our school to the park. And by the time the holidays came, me and Omar, well, we were best friends. My dad called us Momar, which he said was short for Maisie and Omar, because we did everything together. Look at that street now. Look at all those beautiful wild flowers, which the bees will really, really enjoy. Those children and their teacher did a fantastic job there, didn't they? Most days we went to the park and then helped Grandad in his garden. All the flowers seemed to fizz and buzz while the bees buzzed in and out of them. I just can't believe how many bees there are this year, said Grandad. Well, that's because of Omar, I said, and Mr. Ellery Jones. And the bee corridor, said Omar, and we both started to buzz like bees, which made Grandad laugh. There's Grandad's beehive, where he keeps the bees and looks after them. We've got a different teacher this year, Mrs. Chopra, but we still do show and tell. I brought in a jar of honey from my granddad's bees. This jar happened because we made a bee corridor and the bees made the honey, I said, and it's for Omar to say thank you for being my friend. Omar smiled, the biggest smile I've ever seen. There's Maisie with her jar of honey that the bees have made. There's their new teacher, Mrs. Chopra. And there's Omar, who's feeling really like he's settled in. He's got a lovely friend in Maisie. And the next day, there was a whole honey cake from Omar's mum for all the class to share. I think that's Omar's mum there. There's Omar and Maisie, and all the class are enjoying their honey cake together. Courtesy of the bees for making the honey. That's the end of the story. It just says now, we need to look after our bees. Bees are found all over the world. There are more than 20,000 different types of bees. Like Omar's grandpa and Maisie's granddad, there are beekeepers in every country. Well, I feel like I'm doing my bit by planting seeds and growing bee-friendly flowers. And certainly in our school garden, there are some wonderful flowers that are growing at the moment. Do take time to spot them. Lots of you have been to me with tales of what you've seen in your garden. And the different types of bees that you've seen in your garden. And we now know just how important they are, not just because they're one of God's creatures, but because they help by their routines and their pollination to create the food that we eat. All those seeds, fruit and vegetables that we wouldn't have if it wasn't for bees. Let's look after them and let's plant more flowers. Have a lovely Tuesday, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.